Hi, this is Ryan. So today we will talk about how to fertilize orchids and some general information about it. If you want your orchids to hold their leaves longer and produce more blooms that are bigger and brighter, then you need the right fertilizer. As we will see, fertilizing orchids isn't simple as it was with other plants. You have to pay close attention to make sure that you're not only using the right fertilizer, but you're also using it the right way at the right time. How to fertilize orchids? Honestly, it depends on the type of fertilizer. Concentrated formulas that you have to mix with water can usually be applied safely to the roots and media. These come both as a concentrated liquid and granulated crystals. Each should be thoroughly mixed and dissolved into the right amount of water before use. Well, some can also be safely applied to the leaves, but be sure to follow the instructions on the label. Depending on the formula and how much you apply, watering over the leaves might lead to problems with fungus and mold. Then you have magic. I normally use the air pressure sprayer, which creates a fine mist when feeding the orchids with fertilizer. This sprayer can fill in a maximum of 8 liters of water, and I mix it with 1 small cup of fertilizers. It's best to have less fertilizers mixture than overfeeding, which may result to burning or rotting of roots. Sprays are usually safe for everything. This is due to the way they're formulated and because they use such a fine mist that it would be hard to apply enough water to damage the foliage. What kind of fertilizer for orchids? Well, it's best to think of fertilizer as orchid vitamins, a supplement that gives it what it's lacking from its main food supply. It's not the medicine, which is why it may not be able to fix a sick plant. It also cannot be considered as food since orchids are actually plants, and plants make their own food using photosynthesis. That being said, in order to understand what kind of fertilizer is best for orchids, it helps to understand a little something about photosynthesis. So what happens during photosynthesis? Photosynthesis in orchids works the same as in all plants. Water is absorbed through the roots and taken to the leaves. The leaves use the chlorophyll, the chemical that gives them their green color, to absorb light from the sun. This energy is used to break down the water into 2 separate parts, oxygen and hydrogen. While some oxygen is used by the plant, most of it is mostly excreted into the air. The hydrogen combines with the carbon dioxide inside the plant cells and a little bit of oxygen to make sugar that feeds the plant. So, photosynthesis provides the orchid of its food but not the micronutrients it needs to really thrive. That's where fertilizer comes in. does fertilizers do? Well, there are three macronutrients that are important for orchids' growth that the plant cannot produce itself. First one is nitrogen, which aids leaf and stem development. Then phosphorus, which helps with healthy roots and flower production. Then the potassium, which strengthens the plant's tissue. So every orchid fertilizer is labeled with three numbers which tell you the ratio of these ingredients. So if you see 20-20-20, each one makes up 20% of the total mix. If the label claims that the fertilizer is complete, that means it has all three of these macronutrients. If it's balanced, it means they are present in equal amounts. How often to fertilize orchids? Orchids don't naturally come across a lot of these nutrients, so they are not used to getting them in large amounts. So that's why you have to be careful not to use too much. So like what I have mentioned earlier, using too much fertilizer can cause down brown leaves and root damage. Read the directions for the fertilizer you choose. Some can use every 2 to 3 days, while others really are only used weekly with a break of water without fertilizer every few weeks. If they are formulated for orchids, they'll have to, the right balance if you follow the directions. So if you are worried about overdoing it, you can start with a diluted concentrated. For example, if the instruction says to use a teaspoon of fertilizer in a gallon of water, you can try half teaspoon in a gallon to start. Experiment until you find the right mixture that gets the best results. When is the best time to fertilize orchids? When you should fertilize your orchid depends on where it is in its blooming cycle. During its growing period, it's important to keep your orchids fertilized during growth periods and before their blooming period. This varies from one type of orchid to another. Some bloom during the spring and summer, while other varieties bloom in the winter. Some bloom twice a year. During this time, a schedule of fertilizing every week with a break every third week using only plain water is a good schedule. The plant is getting ready to sprout and in a period of rapid growth, so it needs an added nutrients. One comes around one today. They don't see things the same. Two out the door. Then you have magic. One comes around one today. They don't see things the same. Two out the door. Then you have magic. During dormant period, after the orchid blooms, the flower will eventually wilt and fall off. Then the orchid enters its dormant phase as it gets ready for the next one. During this time, it's not necessary to fertilize as often. In fact, every other week should be enough to make sure it's getting what it needs to stay strong and healthy and ensure blooms for the next season. That said, often summer bloomers will need more fertilization throughout their dormant period than winter bloomers do. If you're wondering, morning is the best time of the day to water or fertilize an orchid. That way the leaves have time to dry in the sunlight. They don't see things the same. Two out the door. Then you have magic. One comes around one today. They don't see things the same. Two out Alright, so that's gonna be enough for now. If you like and find this video helpful, please give it a like and share it to the rest of the orchid lovers. Please also subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my new videos. Thanks for watching.
Two out the door, then you have magic.